Okay, so imagine for a second you're an online gaming operator. You stumble upon a market that has exploded, grown by 270% in just a handful of years. So where is this digital gold rush happening? Well, the answer might actually surprise you. It's Spain. Today, we're going to break down exactly how Spain built this massive, regulated, billion-euro online gambling market, basically from the ground up.
Right, so welcome to Spain's digital gold rush. It's a market with so much potential that, honestly, operators from all over the world are trying to stake their claim. But, just like any gold rush, you can't just show up with a shovel and hope to strike it rich. You need a map, you need to understand the rules of the land, and you have to be ready to invest. Seriously. So just how big of an opportunity are we really talking about here? Well, get this. The Spanish online gambling market has grown a staggering 270% since 2014. To put that into perspective for you, that's like watching a quiet little town turn into a booming city in just a few short years. This isn't just steady growth, folks. This is a rocket ship. It tells you there's a huge, sustained demand for online gaming.
And all that growth? Yeah, it adds up. In 2022, the market was worth an incredible 850 million euros. This is the kind of market that can make or break an operator. It's mature, it's incredibly valuable, and it's pretty much ripe for the picking. That is, if you know how to play the game.
So what's fueling this amazing growth? Well, take a look at this. It's the Spanish people themselves. Nearly 85% of adults in Spain take part in some form of gambling every year. That makes them one of the most engaged populations in all of Europe. So you see, this isn't a market you have to build from nothing. The players are already there, and they are hungry for new platforms.
But listen, a market this valuable with this many engaged players doesn't just happen by accident. No way! It's the result of a really carefully built framework, one that's designed to protect both the players and the operators. And that entire framework, it's built on one key piece of legislation, the 2011 Spanish Gambling Act. This is the rulebook for the entire industry, and you absolutely have to understand it if you want a shot at succeeding here.
Spain's history with gambling goes way, way back. I'm talking all the way to the National Lottery in 1763. But for our story, the date that really matters is 2011. That's when the Spanish government saw this digital wave coming and made a huge decision. Instead of trying to fight it, they chose to regulate it. And out of that came the 2011 Spanish Gambling Act, which created the modern, secure, and, very profitable online world we see today.
And with any good rulebook, you've got to have a referee to enforce those rules. In Spain, that referee is the DGOJ. Think of them as the ultimate gatekeepers for the whole industry. They have the power to make or break an operator. They're the ones issuing licenses, auditing platforms, and they can shut down anyone who doesn't play by their rules. So yeah, if you want to operate in Spain, you better be on their good side.
All right, so you see the opportunity. You know who's in charge, and you're all fired up to stake your claim in the Spanish market. But before you jump in, there's one more thing you really need to think about: the price of entry. Getting a license to operate in Spain is, well, it's not for the faint of heart. It's a serious and very expensive undertaking, and it's pretty much designed to weed out the amateurs from the pros.
Spain's licensing system is pretty unique, and it's set up to make sure only the most committed operators can get in. It's a two-tiered system, and it works like this. First, you need what's called a general license. Think of this as your permit to build the casino itself. It's your 10-year master key to the market. But then, and this is the key part, for every single game you want to offer inside that casino, whether it's sports betting, poker, or blackjack, you need a specific 5-year singular license. You can't have one without the other. So if you want a full casino floor, you're going to need a whole keychain of these singular licenses.
So what does this journey actually look like? Well, as you can see here, it is a 4-step marathon, not a sprint. First, you have to wait for a public tender. You can't just apply whenever you feel like it. Then, you have to submit a mountain of paperwork, your business plan, your tech specs, everything. If you're lucky enough to get that general license, you then have to apply for all your individual singular licenses. And finally, your entire tech platform has to be rigorously tested and certified. It is a long, tough process, but that's how they make sure only the most reputable companies get in. And when I say it's an expensive marathon, I am not kidding. This slide lays out the cold, hard financial reality. You need a €2 million financial guarantee just to get your foot in the door. And that's before you even pay the €38,000 application fee for the general license or the fees for each singular license. And once you're up and running, you're paying a 20% tax on your gross gaming revenue. So let me be crystal clear, this is not a market for small-time operators. This is a game for serious,
well-funded players ready to make a huge investment.
So, you've jumped through all the hoops, you've paid all the fees, and you've finally got your licenses. You're ready to start raking in the cash, right? Not so fast. The DJOJ might be the head referee, but they are not the only ones watching you. Operating in Spain means being accountable to a whole web of regulatory bodies, and trust me, they're all keeping a very close eye on your every single move.
And here they are, the other refs on the field. The DGOH is your main contact, sure, but you'll also have to answer to the CNMC, which is the competition watchdog. They're making sure you're playing fair. Then you've got SETBLAC, the Financial Intelligence Unit, monitoring your transactions to fight money laundering. And of course, you can't forget the Agencia Tributaria, the tax agency. They're going to make sure you pay that 20% tax. It's a super tightly controlled environment. There is just no room for error.
So, we've seen the massive potential of the Spanish market, that 270% growth, the €850 million valuation, but we've also seen the huge barriers to entry, the complicated licensing, and the whole web of regulators you have to answer to. Which brings us to the big one, the billion-euro question. Is it really worth the bet?
Well, according to Peter Murray, who's a leading expert in the industry, the answer is a big yes. He argues that the very rules that make Spain so challenging are also what make it so attractive. Because the market is so mature and well-regulated, it gives operators a stable and predictable place to do business. And in a crazy industry like online gaming, that kind of security is basically worth its weight in gold.
So, it all comes down to this. On one side of the scale, you have a massive, engaged player base and a stable regulatory system. On the other side, you have strict advertising rules, complex compliance, and a really grueling licensing process. It really is the ultimate high-risk, high-reward scenario.
So Spain has basically created a new kind of digital gold rush, one that's built on a foundation of strict rules and high walls to climb. It's a model that chooses safety and integrity over a free-for-all, and it's proven to be incredibly profitable. Which leaves us with one final thought. Is this the future of online gaming? Is this the blueprint that other countries are going to follow as they try to find their own balance between regulation and growth? Only time will tell.